I really hope the saying better late than never applies to me picking up, continuing this video series that I started before I had the flu and got super sick and then, didn't post anything. Hello friends, happy Wednesday. So very excited that you're here. I do want to just take a minute to say thank you. Thank you so much. This past Monday, I was preparing to share my video on Instagram and I saw that we were at 3,000 subscribers and I just want to say a huge thank you. I am blown away and it makes me just really emotionally happy because I know a lot of people could say it's just a number, and yes, the number does not define my content, but I don't have the opportunity to go hang out with a lot of in real life friends and consider you guys to be my friend, and being able to come here and share and you say, hey, I want to hear what you have to say and listen to me ramble about so many things I love and I'm excited about. It means the world to me, friends. It means the world to me, and it was just a really special gift, I guess you could say, because it's my birthday this month, and so I'm just really thankful. And I just wanted to start off this video saying thank you truly from the bottom of my heart for being on this manga journey with me. It has been one of the best things that has ever happened to me, and I'm very, very thankful to be here and that you're here as well. And yes, thankful to be here filming this video and continuing this series I was trying to do before I got sick, of the top 5 debuts that released in 2024 from a variety of publishers. I've already done Viz Media / Shoujo Beat. Really enjoyed that video. And today I'm doing Kodansha, and this list was a really big struggle for me because I feel like Kodansha didn't have a lot of new shoujosei manga. Now, yes, I did the shoujosei wrapped, highlighting all the licenses, the releases, series that ended in 2024. And yes, that video testifies that yes, there was shoujo manga releasing, but it felt just there was not, maybe because a large chunk of their releases were digital and we had quite a few series that they've already published, but they were doing it in a new edition, say like the Sailor Moon box set, the Magic Knight Rayearth getting the singles and the physicals, because right now, or before that, it was only available hardback. So there were some new additions for series, and I just felt there wasn't quite as much like that I could choose from compared to say Viz Media or Shoujo Beat. I feel like I'm sort of doing 6. So let's just go ahead and start off. I think I'm going to say this is an honorable mention, and that is Bless. I loved reading Bless. Honestly, Bless is what got me on K-manga and reading manga on there. Granted, I don't do it very often. It was, and it is, a great way, in my opinion, to try out manga that you're on the fence of and you're not sure if you want to pick up physically. That's what happened with Bless. And you might be like, well, Laura, if you got Bless, where is your physical copy? You're not holding anything with your hands. And that is where I struggled, because unfortunately, even though I personally really loved reading Bless and I bought the first 2 volumes, I believe it was, just due to budgeting factors. It was nothing to deal with the manga itself, but I unfortunately am not one of those people that can buy manga and then like decide not to get any more volumes for a while and just leave it on my shelf. I don't have that kind of self-control. I am one of those people, if I'm buying it, then I'm getting it with every, I'm getting a new volume every release. I knew that if I kept Bless that I would have this happen to me because I loved volume 1. I enjoyed volume 2, not quite as much as volume 1, but I do feel it was one of the best debut manga that came from Kodansha, because there is just something so compelling seeing people go after their dreams. I love the male lead. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I loved how he really wanted to be a makeup artist, but because he was good at modeling, he sort of, sideline that dream to be a makeup artist until he meets our female lead, who I loved. She is precious. Y'all, freckles should not be considered an ugly beauty trait. No, freckles are beautiful, okay? And I think she is stunning. One of the most beautiful female leads in a manga, hands down, because the freckles are gorgeous. Anyway, sorry, that was a side rant there, but she meets her male lead and she has a dream to be a runway model. Everybody, because she's got the height and she's got the walk nailed down, but she doesn't feel very beautiful. And according to, I think it's true that Japanese standards don't feel freckles are something that defines a person as being beautiful. So she doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. But these two come together for a class project because they were going to be competing in this school hosted model runway kind of thing. And they have been given where the guy's going to be the model and the girl's going to be the makeup artist. And she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they decide to switch. And both of them not find their passion, passions, but their passions for what they love is reunited. It was a very beautiful, heartfelt, inspiring first volume. I loved it. And again, I didn't let it go because I thought the series was bad, because I even thought volume 2 was good. I love how he's meeting people who are challenging him in his passion, where he can't just have this passion. Like, yes, he could, but what is he going to do with that passion? How is he going to grow in his skills? And I really feel like that was where the direction of this manga is going. And I love that. I thrived on it. I felt very, very inspired, and it's just a beautiful thing when you have people around you who are supporting you, challenging you, encouraging you to go after that thing that maybe you have put off for so long. So I really do feel maybe, I don't know if it'd be number 1 or an honorable mention. I'm just putting it on this list, even though it was supposed to be just 5 manga. But it was so very beautiful. Maybe saying all of that, maybe I should say this number 1, and then my honorable mention would be The Boy I Love Became the Jaded Emperor. This is a 2-volume series. I loved volume 1. I liked volume 2. I feel like I need to reread it because the build-up was sort of slow going, but the final chapter was everything. I mean, it made me cry. And that is sort of why I feel this is a series that I consider to be one of the best debuts from Kodansha, is because of how this story, this volume specifically, impacted me. I am not on board for characters dying, for there to be a bunch of angst, for there to be a lot of pain and heartache. That's not my go-to. Obviously, I do have series. I don't have it over here, but like Queen's Quality is a prime example because that has all of them. And even one of my other picks has a lot of angst. But I was shocked that I read this volume twice and loved it more the second time, despite the heartache and the pain that is unfolding in this first volume. Yes, there's pain in the second volume, but it's much more heartfelt and different, and there's a lot of working through past feelings, because basically these two here met long time ago when Pai, I had to think about their nicknames that they gave each other. When Pai was a little kid, he is royalty, and his, I believe it was like his stepmother, puts a hit out on him and has him go like he's going on a vacation, and then they abandon him at this magical forest, or a forest with these magical beasts in it, and they all think that Pai here is dead, and he's not. And that's when our main girl here, Ham, comes in and she meets him and helps him. But here's the thing, when he first meets her, she looks like this. She's not the stunning beauty she is on the cover. She's a whole other person, and they live together, and he helps her, she helps him, and he feels so connected to her. But because she is green, flabby, and I don't think she's slimy, but she doesn't look human. She doesn't look human. That the royal guards, when they find out that the prince is actually alive, they come to the forest and they end up taking her life. And he becomes a completely different person because he deeply loved her, and he's very jaded, which is where the title comes into play. He hosts a ball because they're like, you need to get married, need to find a fiance. He ends up meeting Ham again, but she is this young woman here, and there's some other elements there that would be going into rambles, but that is the gist of it. And it's their love story and her finding out that the Pai from her, when he was younger, is the same Pai now, even if he doesn't act like that. And so this first volume was heartbreaking, seeing the connection between Ham and Pai as they grow together, and then seeing him go on this revengeful, jaded path was really hard to read, but very, very engaging. It deeply surprised me in how hooked I was, considering how much heartache there is for this young man. Like, I just wanted him to have a bear hug, and I really wanted to just slap all the adults in his life. We're like, well, this is your fault, Mr. Prince. And I'm like, this, at the time, he's a young boy. What is he supposed to do? How is it his fault when you guys just threw him out and saying, oh, we don't want you anymore, because his stepmom obviously wanted somebody else. I'm assuming, if I remember right, her child on the throne, and not, our main character. So I feel like this was a really strong debut, and I really feel like for volume 1 specifically, again, I liked volume 2, and I just wish it would have been a little bit shorter and wrapped up things a little bit faster, even though it made sense for the story itself. But honestly, the ending of this series was one of the best endings I've ever read, and I cried. And I was just so shocked of how the creator was able to point back to things in the beginning and just write this really hopeful ending that was so incredibly touching. Like this really just, the series surprised me. And I feel like that's why it's in their best releases, because I just feel like this is not something I would have picked up, but I knew the translator of this series and she spoke very highly about it. And I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I just never expected to be hooked on it. And I need to read volume 2 because I would love, or reread, excuse me, because I really would love to do a video review on this series. It is a josei manga, beautifully drawn, beautifully written, and a really compelling story. For number 2, I'm going to say a digital manga, or at least I read it digitally, and that is Sheltering Eves. I decided not to pick up this series physically, mainly because I needed to know how it was going to end. Volume 1 is so very, very good. This is by the same creator as Perfect World. It's different than Perfect World. I would not say if you liked Perfect World, then you will like this. Now, if you like those themes and those messages and the heartbreak that's in Perfect World, then yes, you would like Sheltering Eves. I just feel like the stories are very, very different in my opinion. I would say more of if you like My Girlfriend's Child, where you have these young teens, these young people in this story that have so much heartbreak, they are having to become an adult very quickly, then yes, you're gonna love Sheltering Eves. But it is one of those series or stories, I've only read volume 1, where I really struggled of how do you rate, like give a star rating or give a review about a story that feels like you were reading somebody's real life story. Yes, this is fiction, but it's not. It does not feel like it's fiction. The amount of detail that is, let's say drawn, but no pun intended, but drawn to these struggles that these young people are going through, because I'm trying to remember exactly how the storyline went. I could see the characters vividly in my mind and their struggles and their pain, but nailing down the actual plot here is a little bit harder right at the moment. But it's about these people, these young people who are in a children's home, and through different reasons, I'm not going to say that their parents didn't want them, but there were reasons why their parents weren't in their lives, and these children would have been homeless if it wouldn't have been for them being in this children's home. And some of them, 2 of them, our female lead and our male lead, have very traumatic backstories. And we're seeing how that trauma is affecting them in the present, where they are high schoolers, and I think they are a year away from graduating. And when they graduate high school, they are kicked out of the children's home, not because the people there want to kick them out, but because that is, I guess, the system in Japan of when you turn 18, you are considered an adult and you can go live on your own. And it was so heartbreaking. I mean, it's a very compelling story. I think I gave it 4 stars, and I was just at a loss of words. I mean, it was so good, so written so well, but so painful that, again, it reminds me of My Girlfriend's Child, of like, yes, it's entertainment, but man, I sob every time I read. Oh, I cried. This past volume of My Girlfriend's Child, I definitely sobbed. And Sheltering Eves is just so similar, because I definitely cried. I mean, my heart went out to these characters that I'm just like, this represents somebody in the real world, and my heart is breaking for that person who was gone through these struggles. It's a wonderful story to read when you want your eyes open to something you may have no experience with, which I definitely didn't. I picked up My Girlfriend's Child because I knew 2 different people in high school who got pregnant, and I wanted to see if I could, I don't know if understand their situation is the right word, but I wanted to be able to get to know them better, even if that was many years ago. Sheltering Eves is the same way. You're seeing into the lives of these caretakers who work at the children's home. You're seeing into the lives of these other young people where we relive their memories at times, and it's just painfully good, I think is the right way to say it. And even if I decide not to get it physically, hands down, this is one of the best debuts that came from Kodansha. I'm really thankful that we got it, and I have very much enjoyed seeing people say the highest of praises for this manga, though Goodreads would tell you something else, because I was definitely salty about them early reviews that were coming on Goodreads. Yeah, I was salty. I was just like, how can you judge and critique this so harshly as you're doing right now? Yeah, I had some beef with some people on there, even if I didn't know them, but it is a very good debut that I would highly recommend checking out if you want something that's hard-hitting and gonna make you think and see people differently, which I feel like we always need those. And honestly, if my budget was more open, I would definitely pick up the series physically, but I worry that this is not something I would reread again, and that's sort of the new rule I've been making for myself due to lack of space being an issue and not being able to get everything I want. But I hope that my library gets it, because it's not one I wanted to drop or stop reading. It's just one I knew I couldn't get physically right now, but would love to continue to read. For number 3, now look, you guys could say, Laura, technically this is not a debut, but we're going with it because love, that's an understatement. Kodansha came in with that wit at the end of the year, did a first impression on it, deeply, deeply loved being able to read this story again. I'm not going to go too in-depth about it because you can check out that review if you'd like, but this was everything I remembered it being when I read it years ago, and I'm so thankful to hold it in my hands physically, but I'm wondering what Kodansha is doing because, you know, they announced the print club, and then there was like 2 bit of news updates, I think before December ended, and then there's been nothing, and I'm like, please, you know, like, let's not just stop at volume 1. We need to keep going. But this is a very wonderful, delinquent, sweet romance that I would highly recommend. It has the art. I was going to say something else, but the art is so beautiful and I love them. They are amazing. And I just knew for debut, even if it's physical, I mean, that I felt hands down, this was honestly the #1 manga that came from Kodansha when it comes to print releases. Like, nothing tops this. Though, for number 4, that does feel a little bit hard because I also feel this is one of the best debuts from Kodansha, and that's Gazing at the Star Next Door. This is so angsty. I just read volume 4. In fact, when I have my reading wrap-up video coming this Friday, you will see that I mentioned volume 4, Gazing at the Star Next Door, is my favorite volume that I read in January, and it was pain. It was pure pain, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, this series, what did my friend say? I think she said, was it emotional destruction is what she said? I am blanking exactly what she said, but yes, there is so much emotional heartache. Like, she can write one of the most compelling stories, like, this creator, and I have been blown away by how much I've loved this one. I'm just like, my heart is breaking right now, but it's really good. I want to keep reading. The other day when I got volume 4, actually, I was like, I'm gonna go eat lunch and then I'm gonna read. I like skipped lunch and just read for like 30 minutes because I'm like, it might have been even a shorter time because I just stood up in my kitchen preparing to go get lunch. I was like, forget it, we're just gonna try it. We're gonna read. I was like, we're gonna read 3 pages. Half the story later, half the volume later, I'm still standing there and haven't made my lunch at all. But this volume specifically, volume 1, was everything. I remember recovering, I think it was from COVID at the time. It was either COVID or the flu. I was recovering though, and I just felt like I was like thrown back in high school again, felt like I was a high schooler again, kicking my feet literally on my bed, squealing. I read it once, went right back and reread it again because it just created this wonderful feeling because the pain wasn't as strong here in volume 1, okay? The angst wasn't quite there. I mean, it was there, but it wasn't, again, nearly as powerful as has been in the later volumes. And I loved it. And I was like, I don't want to lose this feeling, of feeling giddy, of feeling happy for these characters, because it's just been really special seeing these 2 childhood friends realize they have feelings for one another. Or, I mean, in the beginning, we don't really know for certain what our guy feels, but for certain, Chi really loves her childhood friend, but he is a famous star, celebrity / model, and she feels like she's too ugly to be by his side because of what everybody has told her up to this point. And I'm just like, why? And that she just couldn't be by his side because she's just not to his level. It has been a very satisfying, compelling journey up to this point. I will also say, if you watched my best of 2024, Gazing at the Star, this volume specifically, was on there, and it made it to my top final 3 before I decided on what my #1 was, but I struggled because I remember the halfway point of 2024, I said my 3 favorite reads of 2024 thus far was volume 1 of Gazing at the Star Next Door, Glass with a Chance to Delinquent, and then volume 6? Yeah, volume 6 of Villains Are Destined to Die. And that held true to the very end of the year. So I love this series. It's definitely in my top 10 favorites that I've ever read because it's just so compelling and so engaging, and would highly recommend it if you're needing that angst that's well written and everything's happening. I would say at just the right time, and what I mean, it's not too slow of a pace. We're like, oh, they're just taking forever to get together, but it's not too fast. We're like, oh, they got together so quickly. Like, no, we're working through a lot of feelings like she is, and she is amazing. I admire her strength so much. Also, childhood friends to lovers, yes, we're here for it. We're thriving. It is a really, really wonderful read, and I would highly recommend it. For #5, last but not least, Opposites Attract, pure josei fluff. I don't even know what to say about this. It's very episodic. If you love dogs, though, specifically, and you love slow burn romance, this series is it. It is currently only 2 volumes, so volume 3 is finally up for pre-order, and I'm really, really excited. I have loved it. It's just a feel-good story. Like, when you read at the end of the day, and you're like, man, today has been rough. You don't want to think about anything. You just want to feel better. Papa sits a track with these cute dogs and these cute owners. Done deal, y'all. Done deal. They will make you feel better. Like, look how cute they are. They are so precious. I mean, you don't have to really read it and you just feel happy. Like, look, oh my goodness. I love it. And I love how when you meet these oh, look at this page, look at them. That when you meet these characters, the owners, that their dogs don't match what seems like would be their personality. And I have loved seeing that be a subtle theme throughout this manga because it's just so cute. Like, here is the prime example where she's like, how does he control his strength holding the little doggy? And he's like, why is she so strong having the Rottweiler? And I love it. I love it. It is just so cute, so wholesome. Volume 2, I know we're talking about debuts, but volume 2 has been equally amazing, and I am so ready for volume 3, y'all. This is just a, like I said, a feel-good manga. I loved it, and I'm really thankful that Kodansha gave us that manga, as well as all of these, and lots of gushing, obviously, about many of these, but I would love to know what have been some of your favorite Kodansha manga, whether they are debuts, like, man, because I really want to say A Sign of Affection, because I'm loving that, but that didn't technically release last year, so let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!